Hey guys, welcome back to the internet. I got Faye here for at least a couple seconds, so say hello. So yesterday we had a really long question of the day, and today I can't really find any good questions, so we're just gonna have a bunch of stories. Entitled mom shoves her kid into my classroom and runs. So not sure if this is entitled parent or choosing beggars. For context, in my late teens and early 20s, I ran a free after-school program for kids out of a community center. The program was for kids ages 8 to 12, whose parents were currently undergoing a messy divorce. We had a sister program next door for parents of the kids. It was part class, part community group, part group counseling. With the kids, myself, and another volunteer, discussed handling anger, prepared them for joint custody, changes in finances, what alimony and child support were, etc. The class was free, some of the materials were paid for by the center, and the rest I covered myself. I liked the class, and it gave me a bit of padding on my resume, so I didn't mind buying snacks, coloring materials, and prizes for the kids. At the time, we were a few weeks into the class, and I had 8 kids who were attending. 8 is a great number, because do you know how many things come in packs of 8? It meant I bought stuff in those 8 packs, so each kid would have something, and I didn't waste money on spares. So this afternoon, the kids are coming in, and this parent I haven't met with an unknown kid comes by, and sort of drops the kid off without a word to me or her child. It's been a few years, but here's the conversation I remember. I say, ma'am. She says, what? I say, hi, I don't think we've met. Your son isn't enrolled in the class currently. You can't just drop him off with me. She says, I was told this class is free. I say, it is, but it's not a daycare. You do have to enroll your child first, at the beginning of the term. I can't watch any child who comes by. There are things I need to know, like allergies, emergency contacts, and his name. Well, you can ask me right now. I say, I'm sorry, but this class is starting right now, so I can't. But you can enroll him in the next term. You can find information on how to do that at so-and-so. She rolls her eyes. I have an appointment. Can't you just take him? For the record, the parents were supposed to be enrolled in the class across the hall, not just use us as free childcare. I say, I can't. Besides, I didn't know I had another student today, so I don't have enough supplies or snacks for him. She says, oh, he doesn't need any snacks. He won't mind. I say, ma'am, of course he's gonna mind. All of the kids eating Nutella snack packs and Capri Suns, and that all the other kids have workbooks and he doesn't. It's not fair to him. Besides, it's not really safe for me to watch a child that I have no information for. So you can sign him up for the next term. She just says, fine. She grabs her kid and storms off. That was the end of it, or so I thought. A few minutes later, I'm working with the kid and the other volunteer is setting up our next activity. The door opens a crack, and the same kid as before is shoved in, and the door slams. The other volunteer and I share a, what the F? Look. But I open the door and look out, and the entitled mom is booking it down the hallway. I say, ma'am. She's yelling without turning around. I'll be back in a few hours. So never mind, this class is only an hour long. Half running after her, I say, ma'am, if you don't come and collect your son, I will call the police about an unaccompanied minor. He won't be here when you get back. She stops, sighs, and turnarounds and pegs me with a glare. You're being so unflexible. This is terrible customer service. I say, you're not a customer. Please take your son. She grabs her kid's hand and starts storming off while yelling, I can't believe you would call the police on a child. What kind of teacher are you? I'm going to tell your boss about how horrible you were to me and my son. To this day, I wonder if she was attempting to talk to my boss about my behavior, or imagining the look on her face when she found out the boss of the program was me. Man, revealing that you are the boss to these entitled moms is like the ultimate blow. They have no idea how to recover from that one. Somebody should open an entitled parent daycare where there's no paperwork or anything required, just come dump your kid off and then run away. Maybe we'll find some better parents for the kids. Next up we have, let my blood run just to prove a point about the new dress code. Okay, so I've worked in a lot of different industries, but this happened while I worked in a casino chain in the UK. At 19, I was a bartender, and shifts would usually be 12 hours at a time. While I worked there, the dress code was smart black, so smart trousers and black shirts, which men and women had to wear because it was comfortable. To get more tips, even though I was classified as a bartender, the company forced the women to work on the casino floor, making us walk in circles around the gambling tables, and made the men stay behind the bar. The women were not allowed to stand still, so even on a quiet day, we still had to walk in circles. This was made easier with our uniforms being comfortable. Although it was frustrating to walk around for hours on end, the pay was good, so we complied. Then, the company held a meeting and told us how they decided to change the uniforms. Unsurprisingly, the guys' uniforms didn't change at all, but the women were told to wear tight gray dresses you could barely move in, and high heels by the next shift. It was clearly to look more appealing and get more tips. Of course, my female coworkers and I were pissed off about this and told the managers that they will not only have restricted movement, but will also be in pain by the end of the night if we have to walk around for hours in high heels on the hard floor. Management did not care and told us to suck it up. After this, we gathered in our changing rooms and talked about how there is no way we are wearing this new uniform and shouldn't wear it in protest. That's when I had an idea. I suggested that my coworkers do what they had planned, and I will wear the new uniform because we needed to prove our point. After a long discussion and hesitation, they agreed and let me do it. The next shift, I walk in the building in my new uniform, and oh my, it was uncomfortable. The dress made it difficult to turn my body around, and bending over was near impossible. It was so tight that when I did kneel down, I was scared it would rip. Management were really happy to see that I complied, even saying to my coworkers how they should learn from me. I had to keep it cool while they said that, as I was already starting to get sore from the heels. It was a busy night, and I was running around like a headless chicken. The dress made it difficult to keep up the pace, as I struggled to breathe properly. I think the dress was not designed for this kind of movement. And the pain from my shoes increased to the point that at times I had to attempt to crouch for a second in the back to give my feet a rest. My coworkers started begging me to stop and just get flat shoes on for my own sake, but I declined, stating how I needed to prove our point, so I pushed through the pain till the end of the shift. Management came in when we finished to see how everyone was, and asking me how I found the shift. I smiled and said it was great, with one small problem. I removed my shoes for the first time in 12 hours, and stood in front of my managers, mildly shaking. Their faces all went from smiles to shock when they looked at my feet to see blood running on the floor from the open wounds of my heels. The injuries covered the entirety of my heels, with dried blood on the back of my shoes. They started telling me I should not have done that, and should have worn flat shoes, but I reminded them, saying, "But it's part of the new dress code. I had to wear high heels like you told me." As the injuries were exposed, I started to feel the pain intensify, and had to hold back tears, but my shaking got worse. They made me sit down and got the first aid kit for my feet as I started to unzip the back of my dress, saying how hard it is to breathe. The dresses were still compulsory, but the dresses were made looser and we never had to wear high heels on shift again. Man, that's some of the most dedicated rebellion I've ever seen at a job before. But I can completely understand your pain. I've tried on high heels and I can't walk for more than like 5 minutes in them, and I'm just like stumbling the whole time. I have no idea how people just wear those like all day. Write on someone else's name, pay the price. So I had forgotten about this until reading another post on here today. I went to college in a very small town about 45 minutes away from a decent-sized city. My junior year, a buddy and myself rented a house together. When we were setting up utilities, we ended up getting a triple play package from the incumbent cable company, which included TV, high-speed internet, and a phone. This was 2014, so phones had already been on their way out, but there was no savings not to get it. Almost immediately after install, we started getting a lot of late-night calls for a new restaurant called Not Frank's Pizza. This restaurant had just opened and wanted to play off the local reputation of a restaurant called Frank's Pizza, of course. Knowing this was dirty, I wasn't exactly a fan of their business practices, but they did have good food. Come to find out, our new phone number had the last 2 digits transposed of their number. So wanting to seize the moment and get back at them for their crappy business name, we decided to start accepting orders for the place. We ended up giving outrageous totals and telling customers their orders would be delivered in a few hours. After a few weeks, the error in dialing seemed to stop, and I think people picked up on what was going on. However, shortly after that, the business changed its name and got a new phone number, but kept the same owner. Looking back, it was kind of a jerk move, but at the same time, trying to steal someone else's notoriety is just as bad. Unfortunately, a year after I graduated college, I moved to a bigger city, and the town just about died. I believe that the place is still in business, but mainly because of their bar for the locals. Man, I love the stories where people get like crazy phone number mix-ups. Your imagination just runs wild when you have that kind of power. Today I effed up by getting too adventurous with my toe. So this wasn't today, but a few weeks ago. It feels like it was 5 minutes ago though, with how cringe I feel when I think about it. Although if you didn't gather by my username, I am a guy. So we went to see the Book of Mormon in a theater that is very, very old. Not new to seeing a stage production, and given that this partner theater was over 128 years old, I knew it was going to get really warm in there. I know you should dress up for theater shows, but I don't really get that, as you sit in the dark 90% of the time. I wore a decent button-down, short-sleeve shirt, and some nice jeans. However, I also wore flip-flops, knowing it was going to get extremely sweaty. Sure enough, it was really hot and humid within the first 15 minutes of the show. I slipped off my flip-flops and mostly enjoyed the show barefoot, while letting the heat escape from my feet. This was fine for a while, then the major F-up. At one point, antsy as ever in a cramped seat, I edged my toes over the edge of my line of the seats, so I was technically in the space of the person in front of me. My right big toe touched the seat in front of me. Wow, this is softer, plushier, and all around better than what I assumed an old theater's chairs would feel like. So yeah, I had stuck my toe into a seat, and then gave it a nice little wiggle, because I wanted to feel the chair's velvety softness some more. As you figured out, it was not the chair, but it was the girl in front of my chair's butt, that I had just poked and wiggled with my toe. She jerked her head to the side super quick while I started dying inside. I immediately said sorry and kept my feet strictly under my own chair the rest of the night. I thought I was free and clear from the embarrassment, besides the lady in front of me's knowledge of the events, until my husband asked me why I apologized randomly in the first act, so I had to explain. I'm still dying over this. Thanks for reading. Well, I guess I can sort of sympathize with wanting to feel some soft texture with your big toe. Though, wouldn't you have quickly figured out that it was not the seat since it didn't feel the same as the seat you were sitting on? We all know the music is repetitive, but it's not supposed to be at full-blown cantina band level. So for the past decade, I've worked in the women's fashion retail. This story's from a couple of years ago, when I was a full-time assistant manager at a store in the mall. We had a staff of about a dozen people at any given time. My store had one of those music systems where new songs and playlists are automatically pushed to the hard drive every month. Corporate tended to keep the playlist pretty static, however, only tossing a few new songs in here and there. It was pretty standard retail pop music, and it all kind of blended together over the months and years. Is it a wonder we barely noticed when the playlist started to dwindle? The computer was deleting songs by its schedule, but not receiving any new downloads. Normally, we'd hear the same songs every day, but only once. We caught on when we started to hear the same songs multiple times. Help desk was in no hurry to do their job. We watched and listened, helplessly, as the section narrowed more and more over the next few weeks, until it was down to about a dozen songs on repeat. One morning, I went in with my sales associate to open the store. It was one of the last days before Labor Day weekend. I turned on the music when it was time to open the doors, and Elastic Heart by Sia was playing. Neither of us really made a note of that, at first. That song ended, and the next song began. Hey, didn't we just hear this song? My associate asked. What? Did we? I responded, honestly uncertain and distracted by morning paperwork. I'm pretty sure we did, she said. Well, maybe it's the end of the playlist, and it just happened to restart the shuffle with the same song, I suggested. She agreed that that might be it. But in our elastic hearts, we felt a deep sense of dread, and our fears were confirmed when the song proceeded to play a third time in a row. We laughed, since that's about all we could do, especially since Help Desk was aware of the problem already. I wanted to just turn it off, but my associates couldn't handle the quiet. Over the first 3 days, Elastic Heart would have played approximately 453 times during open hours. I personally would have heard it 280 times over my 3 shifts, not counting my breaks, or non-open hours. Even if I was only subject to 5 hours of music per shift, which would be a conservative estimate, especially since the holiday weekend meant everyone was almost always on the sales floor, I still would have heard it about 200 times in 72 hours. Sure, we laughed at the absurdity, and we had the comedy of watching customers' reactions as they tried to remember whether or not they had just heard the same song. Still, combined with the stress of the holiday weekend, tempers started to fray. Even the customers were more irritable, and they only had to hear the song a handful of times. I've often wondered about the delirious psychological effects of involuntarily hearing the same few songs on a loop. Hearing just the one song over and over for hours and days on end. Well, that takes it from brainwashing to downright torture. The humorous aspects soon withered, and I felt like we were lab rats being experimented upon. I couldn't take it anymore, and I refused to turn it on by the 4th day, no matter what the part-timers said. To add to the nonsense, the music system didn't have any standard jacks or plugs, so we couldn't just hook up our phones and play something else over the stereo. We ended up bringing in our own Bluetooth speakers and just using our personal data plans to stream music, because of course, the store did not have Wi-Fi. Fixing it was a huge pain in the butt and involved a lot of phone tag when I could get time away from the sales floor. But I eventually emerged victorious. That is, until the following year, when it happened again, with the same song. I think I still have a twitch whenever I hear it. I can get into moods where I become obsessed with a song and I could just listen to it over and over again. But I think that after about 20, maybe 30 times, I decided it's time to put it down because I don't want to go crazy over it. You know, I've never actually heard of the song that they talk about in this, so I decided to just look it up. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't work there at the time. Alright, so we got one more story. Like I said, there's no question for today. Are these circumstances extenuating enough for you? So I'm the warranty head for a retailer dealing in large machinery. The vendor sells to us, we sell to the customer, then I deal with any warranty claims on behalf of the customer. We also sell attachments for the large machinery, like grapples and hammers, which have their own warranty terms. We purchased a set of grapples in 2017, and kept them in stock until finally reinstalling them onto a machine that we sold last month. Immediately, they started having issues. No problem, we went out and replaced a $1,700 part that had failed. I submitted the claim to the grapple company. Unfortunately, the grapple company just got bought out by a different vendor, who was playing hardball, and my claim is denied. Technically, the grapple company only warranties their parts for 1 year from the ship date, not the install date. We keep a large stock count of their grapples as part of an unwritten agreement between our companies. The former owner was a personal friend of my company's owner. Maintaining our stock makes inventory easier for both of us, rather than having to place rush orders for each machine we sell. We make up a large portion of their yearly sales. I resubmit the claim requesting goodwill compensation and was denied again. I resubmitted a third time detailing the understanding we had with the previous owners. The new warranty guy on their side sent me this response. Grapple Company understands the situation, but we aren't able to help. Our warranty guidelines are clear that no warranty will be considered if the terms have expired outside of extenuating circumstances, and we require all retailers to follow those terms to the letter. If there are extenuating circumstances to this claim, please advise. Fine. $1,700 is not a truly significant amount of money, but this lack of warranty issue does promise to become much bigger as time passes, and could make it non-profitable to carry their brand. I make a recommendation to the head of sales, and he gives me the authorization to throw my weight around. I email them back saying, "We appreciate you must follow warranty guidelines as written. We consider the extenuating circumstances to be the continued relationship between our two companies. If you disagree, we must also begin following our guidelines to the letter. Per our terms from X document, we will be returning all items approaching the year mark for full credit. We will not be continuing to keep advanced stock, as the Grapple Company has had a significant issue in the past handling JIT inventory requests. We will also be looking elsewhere for a supplier. Please advise your staff to expect the first return shipment by the end of the week. Thank you for your time." Surprise, surprise, the vendor's new president came rushing down to visit us personally and unruffle feathers. He, my head of sales, and I sat down and hashed out a written agreement for the new warranty terms to reflect our stocking understanding and continuing good relationship. I got my measly $1,700 credit, and more importantly, what amounts to a carte blanche on all future claims. Their warranty adjuster had been instructed to handle us with kid gloves. See, this is why I really like the world of business. If a company tries to screw over somebody else, then it's usually going to turn right back around and screw them over at some point too. When the economy is built up of so many people who all do their own part, everything kind of just works out in the end. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed another day of stories. I know you guys really like all of the cat videos that I have at the end of these videos, but unfortunately you'll never end up seeing like the best stuff that she ever does, because she tends to be very unpredictable, and sometimes she stops doing whatever she's doing whenever I pull out my camera, so I guess you just have to be here if you want to see the real Faye. But anyways, thanks for watching. I'll probably have a scary story video tomorrow to kick off like Friday the 13th, so look out for that, and I hope you guys enjoy.